Wheel of Genre, the show for readers trapped under the boot of the demiurge in their daily lives, 9 to 5, and reading habits, I guess. Right now, we want to read Gnostic fiction, and we are asking you for your help.
Begging, some might say.
Bob, I know we have a couple books that we want to read ourselves that we're really, really excited, but I'm finding more often than not that people are leaving really awesome recommendations in the comments. So we thought we'd try something a little bit different and open it up to you guys. Now, we do have a couple that we for sure want to read. And I think I kind of want to lay down some like ground rules. Does that make sense? Like some general things we're trying to do here. So like
The law.
Yeah, the law. We're going to lay down the law right now. So obviously we want to read Gnostic fiction, but that doesn't mean books about Gnosticism. Right? Like we can read history books. We can read like, religious studies books. That's fine. I think we're specifically looking for fiction which has been influenced by the ideas of Gnosticism. So what could that mean? That could mean maybe the earth is under the control of an evil god or evil power. Maybe that could mean that reality itself is in some way false or illusory. Not as it appears in a common sense understanding. Or maybe that could also mean that knowledge itself is the key to a kind of salvation or transcendence out of this earthly realm.
So exciting.
Yeah. So Bob, what do you want to read most? What two books do you have on your radar?
I am most excited for A Voyage to Arcturus by David Lindsay. It came out in 1920. And I'm really excited because, two of our favorite YouTubers, Virgil from Literally Books and Chris from Liminal Spaces, have both reviewed it, and it sounds incredible. Virgil says, I have never read anything like this. And Chris said, what does he say? My first attempt at trying to understand the most mind-bending book I've ever read. That's the title of his video for this. And so in their reviews, they were wild about this book, and it sounds really, really, really interesting. So I think it's got to be the first one that we do for Gnosticism. I think it's got to start us off.
And that one is like super influential, right? Like, I guess it involves like a journey to a kind of planet, but the planet is in many ways allegorical of like the soul's journey, maybe almost like a Dantean kind of like, oh, now we're going to talk about this concept and that concept. Supposedly, from what I read, it's super influential on Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and then every other author you could care to name.
Yeah, there's another my other new favorite YouTuber, Zach, is Raph Blue Tax. He is incredible. He's like us, but smarter. Wow, it's great. He starts every video just popping open a beer, and then he tells you what he thinks about the book, and it's incredible. I highly recommend him. But he says that, yes, it's extremely influential, and, the Lewis Space Trilogy is actually based on this. And he was kind of breaking it down in a few different ways. He said you could look at it as like a soul's journey. You could look at it as a psychological journey where you are finding like different elements of your unconscious. And then he said you could also think about it just as like fantasy allowing metaphors to become real. So you like literalize these metaphors, and then you can go and explore them through that fantastical world. And he said this is kind of the cream, the penultimate. That's not even the right word either. A great example of how to do this. So it sounds we're going to journey along in this voyage to Arcturus, Zach.
What else
maybe
you
I'll
got?
learn how to speak English. Oh, I've got the other one. Now, maybe, this is what I want to mention to everyone. If you think this book sucks, tell us and we can change it. But Virgil is really interested in this. I'm really interested in this. I want to see if we can convince Virgil to read it with us. But Harold Bloom actually wrote a sequel to Voyage to Arcturus, and it's called, I think, The Flight to Lucifer. It came out 1979. Yes, Harold Bloom traveled back to the past in 1797, but 1979. And so he claims, Harold Bloom read Voyage to Arcturus 100 times.
Whoa.
It was like, 100 times. I have to write the sequel to this. But then some people have said that it is very necessary if you're interested in Gnosticism at all, because it's very intentionally about Gnosticism. And some critics have said, okay, it is not a good book, but if you're interested in Gnosticism, it's great. But Harold Bloom later went back and he said, what does he say? He says in 2015, in an interview, he said, okay, he decided the novel would never do, and then he says, I had to pay the publisher not to have a second printing of the paperback. If I could go around and get rid of all the surviving copies, I would.
That's funny.
That
We've read
sounds
Harold
great.
Bloom. He's done great work talking about Shakespeare. I think that's our primary encounter with him. Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human is like a must-read companion piece to like every single Shakespeare play. But he's also written books like The Anxiety of Influence is another really, really famous one. So as someone who's interested in Harold Bloom and interested in A Voyage to Arcturus, I feel like for me, even if this is a really, really bad book, I can make a little space in my heart for it, you know?
A little space for Lucifer. Yes, and I think if we can get sorry. If we can get Virgil in on this, it'd be a lot of fun too, because he is so perceptive, and I think it would be really fun to see what he sees in this book. So I hope he hasn't read it yet. We gotta reach out to him. Zach, what do you want to read? I forgot to say, what do you want to read? What's on Zach's list? It's almost Christmas.
Well, I got two, and I just realized that we both kind of picked ones that are related to each other in fun and strange ways. So for me, what I was most excited to explore was books that kind of play with the idea that in some way the world itself is not real or an invention, or, you know, you're trapped inside of the belly of a big machine and the machine is bleeding to death. But so the first one I picked was The Invention of Morel by Adolfo Bioy Casares. So this is an interesting one. I'm going to try to talk about the plot. I'm like inevitably going to spoil some things, but like I haven't read the book myself. So, you know, this is a Wikipedia top level summary. I'll do my best. Okay. So the book is about a guy who washes up on shore at an island, and he's on the run from the law. So, you know, he's trying to lay low, but he sees this island that he's on, and he notices strange things about it. And I think that this is really interesting. This idea of like, you're somewhere strange, you pay really, really close attention to the world around you, and you say, wait a minute, some things are anomalous. Some things don't make sense. The physics here don't quite work. So it creates this mystery about what this island is, what this place is. And then eventually some tourists show up. But he tries to, you know, he's watching the tourists, and he realizes that like they're going around, they can't see him, they can't hear him. No matter what he does, like they won't interact with him. And I think that what this book is really going to explore in an interesting way is how much of the world is constructed. What would it be like if parts of this world were constructed? Would we know it? How could we discover it if people around us were NPCs, automatons, not real people, but rather etchings upon the world by something else? I'm really excited to read it. And it's one of those books that you talk to people. Most people have never heard of it, but the people who have read it put it on their like top 10 of their lifetime favorite books. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good one. So Adolfo Bioy Casares, you know, he writes this book about, you know, what would happen if certain people are kind of written into the world, who are, if they were actually characters on a real life setting. Well, for my second book, by Borges, he kind of flips the script a little bit, because he says, well, what if Casares, the author of the book I just described, was himself a character in my story? And I myself am a character in this story. So the second one I picked is by Borges, and it features his best bud Casares. And they discover inside of manuscripts mention of a strange place called Tlon. It's a faraway land. I mean, we've seen kind of fantastic lands before, especially as we've been reading through the Weird anthology. Tons and tons of stories about faraway, fantastic places. Well, this place Tlon has a certain mythology. Every piece of fiction, every story they tell is set on another world, Uqbar. And in this place, reality itself works entirely different. So just so we're clear about the level of gradations here, we have real Casares and Borges, we have fictional Casares and Borges, we have a fictional land that exists within their fictional world, and then that fictional land has this strange magical place where reality itself works different. There's no nouns. There's no objects. Everything is just in a state of becoming. It's all verb and flux and change. They have no concept of a stable form in this world. Now, what happens when that 3 steps in fictional world starts showing up in our reality? So it's like all these layers, and then from the bottom, you have objects, you have things from Uqbar show up in real Earth. And what happens? So I think it's going to be really good. One of my favorite novelists, Karlov Knausgaard, called this one the greatest short story of all time. So, hey, Knausgaard likes it. That's good enough for me. I'm simple.
Yeah. Oh, Karlova. That sounds great. Sounds eerie. Things from another fantasy coming into our own reality. Kind of makes our own reality seem like it is too porous. It doesn't really exist. Like a sponge.
So that's 4 books and stories that I think we're both really excited to read. But I think we're shooting for I think we want to do a long one, like 6 to 9 books, something like that. So if you're watching this right now and you've read a really, really good Gnostic flavored fiction book, maybe something by Philip K. Dick, maybe Harlan Ellison, I Have No Mouth, I'm a Scream, maybe something like Sophie's World. Like if you have something that you've read and you say, guys, you have to check out this book, then by all means, let us know. I'm really excited to go through recommendations and talk with you, Bob, about what we read.
On, Zach.
On. All right. Talk to you later, Bob.
Talk to you later, Zach.